At night I hear sounds. My body has betrayed me. I fall in love too quickly.
We're combining material and the history, but not stories as such, because it was clear to us that it would be politically wrong to tell Stacy's story as an exception without contextualizing it, because then it would be really doing the opposite of what we would like to do in terms of addressing discrimination. And so we combine our working methods, because to avoid that, Stacy usually goes into poetry, and to avoid that I usually go into archives. So we somehow then, that was the interesting part of the artistic collaboration, was to try to find a place to tell a personal story without making it only about that one person, and combining poetry and archival material. But also the challenge was how to do that while not representing someone else's pain, not representing black pain, said very clearly. And that was the challenge, and that was the search in the archival material, which wasn't always also comfortable, because even, I mean, there are all these questions of ethics, of digging into archives, since it is a colonial archive. So the way they are presented, the way black workers are, or tuberculosis patients are presented, is in a very objectifying way for medical or bureaucratic purposes of the minds. Nothing in any way personal, and nothing chosen by the workers themselves. So it was a complex question of how to deal with that, and I think we found a way. I don't know until today if it's the optimum way, and also maybe in 2 years we'll think it was a bad idea, or we'll be more comfortable with it. But it is, I mean, it's been an attempt, and we've been brave.
No, I mean, of course, because there's a when one hears the story on an initial level, it sounds like a tragedy. Oh God, poor you had, but it's actually an extremely funny story as well. And the medical establishment, for all its kind of complexities and horror, is full of humor. And I mean, it's one thing that the merely interacting with it is often very, very funny. So I think that the humor, and Laila was also very, very certain to keep the tragedy out of it. The story is not a tragedy. It's not a tragedy because I survived, but it's also not a tragedy because it's so very, very funny. And the ironies of everything that play out. So I think humor is very important, that it's never a tragedy, that one, certainly I know I don't want an audience to feel any pity for me. I have no regrets about the illness or the way it changed my body, or I think that illness is an extremely transformative experience, and of course no one wants to be sick. But at the same time, it comes with layers and levels of complexity and knowledge, and a lot of good jokes that are lots of fun. Very, very definitely. With South Africa, the politics is much more foregrounded, and there was a lot more awareness of the politics. The question of, as a white woman, telling the story and talking about tuberculosis within that context is controversial and was complex. so the politics of it is much more visceral, much more apparent. The tension of telling the story is much more visceral, much more apparent. At the same time, the humor is quite much more accessible. People are very aware of the jokes, and what people laugh at in the different contexts is very apparent.
You're also then not afraid to laugh because it's material that's close to their life.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's easier to make jokes about something that you live through
than somebody else's joke, yeah. So there was a definite difference. At the same time, I'm always quite skeptical of this. All the African productions end up in Europe and nothing gets shown in South Africa. So I'm very wary of that economy. But this was a play I was very happy to bring to Europe because it's also a story of colonialism and a story of the contemporary economies of both the medical establishment and industries like the mining industry, which are very much what is still funding a European, still funds Europe. So at the same time as it is a South African story, I think it's an important story to tell within a European context. So I'm very happy to perform it here. I think it has a real place being performed here.
And we also performed it in Cairo.
Yeah, so we've performed in very different spaces. And while the reaction has always been different, the reaction's always been very positive. I was scared in South Africa, but it went.
Yeah, we were always surprised about how audience said they were afraid to come and they were worried it will be less accessible, about a topic distant to them, how they actually felt like they really shared the questions raised in the performance and how it affected them in different ways through experience that they've lived themselves or people close to them, and that's been very nice.
And I mean the thing is that sickness is a universal experience, and it's the one thing we all do share. We all have to different degrees have been sick, so it's very often that common link. And people's experiences within the medical establishment. I am now almost an archive myself of stories collected of people sharing their own bad experiences with the medical establishment and with illness and misdiagnoses and not getting diagnosed. So that's a very common experience, and the experience of what is your body and how your body is perceived, especially as a woman within a medical establishment, and how you are treated is a common experience. And so that has been a through line that speaks globally. I think that in all contexts, people are asking those questions, are asking a question about a medical establishment that works only on a very kind of scientific knowledge, where the body is very objectified. And I think at the moment, we're at a global moment where people are looking for alternatives, and this play poses those questions of, do we need alternatives, and what alternatives might we find?